So, okay, you may or may not have heard this song before. It's called Exile Vilify, and it was created by The National, an indie rock band with the sole purpose of being included in the game Portal 2, which I bet you've heard of. Originally, it was intended to be used in a fake ending, where the player would be given an opportunity to shoot a portal to the moon, get sucked into space, and the song would play over top. These fake endings were created in a direct response to players in Portal 1 who didn't realize that the fire pit at the end of Test Chamber 19 wasn't actually the end of the game. There was still the whole escape sequence and the fight with GLaDOS. Valve wanted to capture that again in Portal 2, however, it became apparent to the developers that the fake endings, for whatever reason, just weren't working. And ultimately, they were left on the cutting room floor. The song Exile Vilify was ironically exiled to one of the Ratman dens encountered by the player early on in Chapter 2. And for a brief moment, that was the entire legacy of Exile Vilify, this haunting little piano ballad that you only ever heard if you came across this one room. But partially inspired by the success of the band, in June of 2011, Valve decided that the song deserved a little something more to put its name to. In typical Valve style, they decided to use this as an opportunity to get their community involved. So they fashioned this music video contest where the Portal community could submit their own music videos for the song, and the winner would receive a guitar signed by The National, along with anything they could grab off of coworkers' desks. And I guess whatever items Valve employees had on their desks must have been pretty valuable, because there were just so many entries, way more than Valve ever could have predicted. A lot of these videos are very rough around the edges, sometimes in very comedic ways, like this guy who just filmed his cat for 4 minutes, but others are legitimately really well produced, and honestly deserve more attention than they got. Like, seriously, some of these videos are just truly spectacular, and others are just really funny. So let's take a look at the exceptional, the hilarious, and the controversial music videos for Exile Vilify. To start things off, let's take a look at this one called Video Cosplay 2011 Lab Rat Redux. It's a bit of a weird name, but this one was one of my favorites back in the day. It picks up right where Portal 2 left off, with Chell outside of Aperture and wandering through what I think is supposed to be an environment similar to the wheat field that we see at the end of the game, but instead it seems like it's just this flat, sandy area with some tall foliage. We see Chell running through the quote-unquote wheat field, struggling to make it out, intercut with footage of her awkwardly trying to assimilate back into society, still wearing the same jumpsuit, which I hope she at least washed, because it looks pretty sweaty out there in that Russian sun. I'm not quite sure if the images of Chell back in society are supposed to be in her head as she walks through the field, or if it's a flash forward into the future, but personally I like to think that it's the former, and she's struggling in part because she doesn't know if life outside of Aperture will suit her anymore. We get this shot of her examining a lab rat in a cage and images of her trapped behind bars, which obviously has a lot of symbolism to it, ultimately motivates her to get up and truly escape into the outside world. And shortly after, she comes across the highway, which she hops onto the shoulder of, and then she fucking hitchhikes. And this guy in the car nods his head way too aggressively, like I certainly wouldn't get in the car with them. We see a couple more shots of the field, and then the car drives away and we fade to black. So yeah, this video is a little silly, but honestly I kind of love it. It's packed with a lot of really evocative and interesting images, and manages to tell a nice little story about Chell coming to terms with her new life outside of Aperture Science. And to be honest, I'll always have a bit of a soft spot for Portal 2 fan projects that attempt to continue the story after the game's ending. I think this video gives you the perfect idea of what the rest of these are going to be like. A lot of really good stuff, and a lot of really silly stuff. And speaking of silly, let's take a look at that G-Man one from before. So obviously this one just goes completely into Half-Life, not even making a mere mention of the Portal story. And although these videos did not have to be related to Portal, which we will get back to later, many really just didn't understand this. And the way the author justifies the Half-Life and Portal connection here is a little shaky. I'm sure to Gordon, the events of the Half-Life series have often felt like some sort of trial. Yes, I bet they have. So yeah, a lot of this video is just random Half-Life 2 game footage intercut with G-Man lip syncing to the vocals of the song. Which, I don't know if it's just me, but I think this is pretty funny. Who knew G-Man could sing so good? And the fact that it's so low frame rate really adds to that. To be honest, even though this video is kind of low effort, the lip sync is pretty impressive. It's kind of funny to me that this is at least the second music video where G-Man sings in front of Half-Life 2 gameplay footage. Overall, I think this video is really funny and it feels aggressively 2011, which is a plus in my book. Next video. Oh, that peaks the microphone. So before we talk about the winners, I think it's good to point out that Valve actually picked out a handful of videos they liked for these absurdly specific superlatives. To my knowledge, the video authors didn't actually win anything for this, but it's a great starting point to find some interesting and fun videos created for this competition. For the sake of time, I'm only going to talk about 3 that piqued my interest, starting with this one by Nick Reinhardt. This one won Best Ratman Cosplay, and guess what? It has Ratman in it. This isn't just a retelling of the Lab Rat comic though, which, like, if there was a bingo card for Exile Vilify music videos, remaking Lab Rat would be the free space. The video starts with Chell solving test chambers through the aid of Ratman's wall scribblings while he hangs out with the companion cube, laughing, having a good time, you know, sharing a beer just like Ratman does. The locations don't really look anything like Aperture, but I mean, it's a fan film, so can you really blame them? Eventually, Chell escapes Aperture in a scene that I'm pretty sure is supposed to be similar to the end of Portal 2. There's still no wheat field. Ratman is watching over her from atop. Ratman drops the companion cube down to Chell and she finds it and takes off with it. And he ain't too happy about that, so he basically stalks her as she walks around and goes to this beach. Eventually, she hops in the water, and he takes the opportunity to steal the companion cube back and replace it with a cake. Ah, it's like the Portal game. The cake is a lie, except it isn't here. She's got the cake. It ends with Ratman just wholesomely hanging out with the companion cube again, and there's this part where I think the actor isn't sure if he should actually, like, full-on kiss the cube or not, so he just kind of non-committally leans in and pulls back. But then he gives it some thought, and he's just like, I'll go for it. And then we fade to black. Honestly, I think this is one of the more professional-looking live-action music videos created for this competition. It's got some nice shallow focus to it, and the colors are very pretty, which is saying a lot for a fan film created in 2011. And speaking of live action in 2011, this next one won Best Use of Green Screen, and let's just say, it's a product of its time. This video tells the story of GLaDOS' activation with real actors green screened into Portal environments playing the scientists. The green screen itself is actually pretty well done. It's certainly not seamless. You know, live action just doesn't quite fit with the game created in 2007. But the lighting generally matches up, and there's some shots where shallow focus is faked. You know, there's a real effort there. When GLaDOS is activated, she shows the scientists like an Xbox 360 achievement, and then closes the door and deploys the neurotoxin. And the acting in this part is really funny. Oh no. Come on, why won't it shut off? And it wouldn't be a 2011 YouTube video without an appearance by the troll face. Let's move on to this one, which won Best Puppets Non-Sock category, which, trust me, that'll make sense later. And okay, before we start, guys, keep in mind, this video has Portal 2 spoilers in it, okay? So, wouldn't want any guys to get spoiled for the game because I know none of you have played it before. Please be warned. So this video shows us various different pieces of the Portal 2 story told with puppets on this little proscenium stage. The puppets actually look pretty damn good, although we do have some pretty crudely constructed cardboard props in there. At one point, GLaDOS kills a cat, and the neurotoxin emitter is just like a glass cup probably taken off of the dining room table. There's also a part where the literal hand of life comes down to give Cave Johnson lemons, and then he fucking spazzes out and knocks them all onto the floor in slow motion. I think it's really amusing watching the Portal story being told this way, and it does a solid job of communicating it through nothing but the visuals. That said, the actual video part of this music video is a little rough. There's some zooms that feel a little awkward and kind of give it a 2005 home camcorder kind of vibe. And it's obviously edited together in like Windows Movie Maker or something. But thankfully, I don't think this video is going for any kind of serious tone, so arguably these things just kind of add to it. This one's good. I don't know what else to say. I like it. Go watch it. So that's just a couple entries that stand out to me as interesting or relevant, but now we have to talk about the winners. So there's actually kind of two first place winners here, but we'll get back to that later. The first one is this animated video created by Mike Move 89 Portal 2. I don't know why they felt the need to include the name of the game in their username, but whatever, we'll just refer to them as Mike from now on. So this video is awesome. It's an animated retelling of the Lab Rat comic book, which, like, get in line, but this one, it's just on another level. It's one of the best pieces of Portal 2 fan content that I've ever seen. The animation is insane. It's pretty much exactly in line with the aesthetic established in the comic book, save for a few out-of-place 3D shots that don't quite look right. But for the most part, it really makes the comic feel like it was made to be animated. And it's clear that a lot of thought was put into how to make the video complement the music. For example, I really love this transition of Ratman running across the screen that happens at the end of the first chorus. Little details like that really help to distinguish between a good music video and a great music video, in my opinion. And to be honest, it's kind of crazy that a video like this was created in such a short time span. Unfortunately, the original version of this video just has terrible audio quality. It sounds like it's coming out of $2 headphones. But there's an improved version, so I'd recommend watching that. So there you have it, an incredible animated music video with a ton of effort put into it that clearly trumps everything we've seen thus far. But hold on, because that wasn't the only winner of the competition. No, this one actually won 1.000001th place. So that kind of begs the question, what could be better? And the answer to that comes in the form of this video by CF Meister, which infamously stars this sock puppet. And right off the bat, I'll be honest, I like the puppet. I think he's cool. He looks so sad, like he's seen some stuff. On a more serious note, a lot of the shots in this video are just really beautiful, which juxtaposes the silliness of the sock puppet in a way that I really like. Honestly, I think this video is kind of perfect. It aims to do something very simple and accomplishes that beautifully. But if we're comparing this video to the previous one, it's certainly not as impressive in a technical sense. It's a lot easier to believe that a video like this could have been created within the time frame than the incredibly convoluted and time-consuming animation effort that was put into the previous video. And this presented Valve with a bit of a situation because they really liked both videos, but just couldn't decide between the two of them.
And so I actually wrote a system so that everybody at Valve, you could just choose to see like 5 videos, and then you would just vote up, down, up, down, up, down, and we just kept doing that and like cycling it through. We internally voted, and the sock puppet won, and one of the ones that had a lot of animation work done into it was number 2. And some people internally were like, man, number 2, we feel bad to like picking the sock puppet. And then I went to the National and I asked, I'm like, hey, which one do you guys like out of like these 3, I think the top 3. And they were overwhelmingly, the sock puppet one is so good. Because it's just so good, it's just so good.
So ultimately the sock puppet technically won, although the animated video still got a very, very close second place. And in all honesty, since both won prizes for their entries, it essentially ended up being a tie between the two. However, this result caused quite a bit of backlash in the fan community, partially because of the extensive effort put into many of the videos, including the near first place winner. But also, here's the thing. The sock puppet video has nothing to do with Portal 2. It's just this guy, his shell-shocked sock puppet, and the Irish landscapes for 5 minutes. And don't get me wrong, in the contest details, it does say that your video does not have to have anything to do with Portal 2. It can be anything you want it to be. But I think when most Portal fans click on a Portal 2 music video contest, they want and expect the content of the videos to be something related to Portal. On its face, I don't think that's necessarily an unrealistic expectation, but back in the day, the hate for this video was just blown way out of proportion. People hated, and honestly still hate, this puppet video. I mean, just go to the comments section. It's crazy to see people are still upset about this 14 years later. To be honest, I find this kind of sad. A video this good does not deserve the hate it got, no matter if it should or should not have won. I mean, it's hard to point to anything that doesn't work about it. It's a cute and simple little video that's executed almost perfectly. I guess if I had to choose, I'd probably prefer the animated video by Mike Move, but for me, it's just as impossibly close as the difference between winning first place and 1.00001th place. And at the end of the day, I feel like both of these wins were well deserved.
Well, it's a piece of shit, though. It's just a hipster wandering the lands with a sock puppet. Would have been good for a contest that involves hipsters and sock puppets wandering the lands, though.
So that's the end, and honestly, there's a lot of music videos created for this competition that I didn't cover. There's this really impressive Lego one, there's a claymation one, there's this one where a bunch of guys dress up like the band and do whatever this is. If the videos I've presented so far interest you, I'd highly recommend you check them out in full, and also go check out the other videos created for this competition because there's a lot of them, and many are really well done. I think Exile Vilify is honestly just a perfect song for a music video competition, because the tone of the song is just so ambiguous. I've seen this song used in dour and depressing contexts, but I've also seen it used in more hopeful contexts, and honestly, it doesn't feel out of place in either one. The tone of the song is very open to interpretation, and I think a lot of the entries for this music video contest demonstrate that perfectly. But hold on, because there is one video that I've forgotten about. Best video our lawyers won't let us pick. What does that mean? Okay, this seems pretty normal so far.
Exile, it takes your mind.
Yeah, this is just a
Have you given up like a trial? Does it
So yeah, actually, fuck the sock puppet video. This one should have won.
Ratman is the guy who has the sock puppet. He just looks different. For people who don't understand what this has to do with the game, the puppet is GLaDOS, and the man is Chell. It's a metaphor, or metaphor, however it's spelled.